Well, here we are. It is now July 5th of 2023. We're just a couple of days out, mind you, from July 11th, which is when Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is going to have those pre-ticket sales, alright, that pre-night, if you will, before the official release date. That's really going to tumble Indy 5's box office results and really bring it into a basic pause, essentially, for Disney and Lucasfilm. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into what's happening here with everything revolving around Kathy Kennedy, Bob Iger, and the current state of Indy 5, and what really happened behind closed doors that's leaving it into ruin. Now, we know that a lot of things actually played a very big factor into this. We do know that this movie had roughly a $300 million budget, and so far where it stands, the last time I checked, correct me if I'm wrong, the combination of all the days that it has been released so far added up to $140 million and change. I think that they made $11 million or so on July 4th, so they had that going on for them. But with Mission Impossible 7 looming, Disney is beginning to panic. They're beginning to get very frightened about what's going to happen with Indy 5. This may very well be worse than Solo: A Star Wars Story's status of being a box office failure. So that really just goes to show you how bad of a track record Kathleen Kennedy really has. So, getting into some very big bombshell news revolving around Indy 5, this is where things begin to unravel quite intensely. So with Indy 5 underperforming terribly at the box office to this day, there lies many developments that have surfaced that explain further failures of the production for the Dial of Destiny. During production, it was actually Kathleen Kennedy all along that pushed Disney to keep the marketing down to a bare minimum for the majority of the marketing strategy, up until last minute with their Applebee's pitch and their plan, which, by the way, was pitched by Kathleen Kennedy to Disney's higher-ups. Bob Iger and those at Disney immediately took Kennedy's pitch for the Applebee's strategy and applied it at last minute as a last-ditch effort to boost ticket sales. This was approved 1 month in advance, give or take, maybe a little bit more before the release date of Indiana Jones. Additionally, Kennedy also dialed back, no pun intended, heavily on the use of de-aging technology and to not go over budget with, of course, the specific opening scene. The reason why this film cost nearly $300 million had much to do with the fact that they actually had Kennedy overly invest in certain set builds that could have been built way cheaper, and the overuse of CGI work on this film. Kennedy pressured Disney for a higher budget multiple times for Indy 5 that was not necessary, and that the overuse of CGI and miscalculated set build funds also played a very big role in why Indy 5 is going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars potentially. Now, another Kennedy failure also involves some reshoots occasionally that did cost extra for the film's budget. Now guys, I want to just stop here quick before I get to the next big piece. Now, the thing that really bothers me the most about this movie is that, yeah, if you guys look very close, and honestly, you don't even have to look that close many times, but the CGI work is atrocious at times. There's many times where the CGI looks like it is not complete, it's not finished, it needed a lot more work to be done. It doesn't really look like it was, perfected by the animators, and you will notice this if you pay very much attention to certain chase scenes and certain moments in the second act. The CGI is just horrible, and the fact that they spent $300 million on this thing, it should look, pristine. It should look like the most amazing film ever. Now, I will agree, there are some shots in this movie that are very much impressive, but that does not mean that the story is good, at least in my opinion. The story is very boring, it's depressing, it really just destroys the character of Indiana Jones. He's not my Indiana Jones, by the way. I like to call him Indiana Joe, kind of how Mark Hamill calls Luke Skywalker Jake Skywalker. That's what I call Indiana. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of problems that have actually surfaced about this movie because a lot of it was because of Kathleen Kennedy. I like to actually think of it this way. You know the WandaVision series where it was Agatha all along, that song? It was Kathleen Kennedy all along. It really was. That should be her little theme song there. is because she really demanded this movie to go way over budget than it should have. The overuse of CGI played a very big role in that. Like I said, moving on. Now, originally, there were many other de-aging scenes planned for Harrison Ford for the deepfake tech as well. The opening scene was originally going to run nearly 30 minutes long, but that was going to cost them heavily. Kennedy canceled those plans almost immediately during production and stuck with the 15-minute or so opening scene. She also didn't allow that scene to be 100% finished, which is why so many flaws were noticed in the deepfake / de-aging tech on Harrison. And why the animation is so off is that Kennedy cut work early, get this, on the opening scene that needed more funding to finish it. They all saw this early on, and that this film was going to flop, which is why the cutbacks actually happened during and after production. Now, the problem also involves this, guys, is that not only did she really overly go overboard with the funding of this movie that she requested by Disney, but she also cut back on some of the work on the CGI and the deepfake stuff early on. That cost them dearly. So this is why, if you have seen the film, you'll notice that his mouth is not lining up with the dialogue many times. His overall de-aging / deepfake sequences look very off. They've done a better job, in my opinion, with Luke in the Book of Boba Fett. Let me be real about this. I feel they did a superior job compared to what they did in Indy 5 in some shots. Some shots are okay. Other shots, to me, are just atrocious. Like, what are you thinking, Kathleen Kennedy? Like, what are you doing? So, again, Harrison Ford, it's really sad that he really agreed to even take part in this. And I've said this several times. If I'm at the age of 80, and if I'm a huge A-list actor, and I'm very well known throughout all of Hollywood, I would be thinking more about my legacy than a paycheck. No doubt about it. And yeah, I know he's heading over to Marvel now. He's going to be the Red Hulk. That's where he really wants to leave things off. He wants to eventually retire very soon. He has been open about that he would like to stop working in the coming years. And I would not be surprised if his Red Hulk debut or his Marvel debut may very well be his little thing or gig for a couple of years, and then he'll just kind of surface away from Hollywood and just drift apart. So anyways, guys, it's really interesting, to say the least, that Kennedy was, yes, a big source of the problem of why this movie went so over budget. It wasn't really all James Mangold all along. It was Kathleen Kennedy all along, you know? We gotta make that theme song here, but when we look at stuff like this, guys, I mean, it's just unfortunate that this is what Indiana Jones has come to, and I know some people out there love this movie, or think that the movie was okay, etc. That's your opinion. I respect that. I get that. But when you look at the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes and you compare it to Metacritic, it is a little suspicious, I will add, and maybe my suspicions are wrong, but let me know what you guys have to say about that contrast between the Rotten Tomatoes reviews and the Metacritic reviews. Let me have your explanation on that. I would be very intrigued. So guys, drop a comment below, fill me in below what you guys all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
From night to moon we hear them moans again.